Hi all, welcome back to the final whistle then for another match preview. And this feels like a trilogy. This really feels like a trilogy, this. Manchester United, we've played them twice already. You know, Premier League at Old Trafford, Carabao Cup at Old Trafford, and now we head to Manchester United tomorrow night in the FA Cup. Ruud van Nistelrooy, of course, returns to Old Trafford since leaving Manchester United for Leicester City. So, yeah, this one is going to be a very interesting one. Two sides were not in great form going into this game. Can Ruud van Nistelrooy get one over on his old foes? Then it remains to be seen. Guys, as always, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you haven't subscribed already, please get down and do so. We have got two shows tonight, by the way. We've got the match preview, which is this one. And we've also going to be joined at 9 o'clock by Rob Tanner to find out what is going on at Leicester City regarding the transfer window that's just passed. We're going to talk about the season, all that. So, yeah, a lot to discuss tonight, I'm sure. Only want to see the fight spirit now. That only gets us over Brentford in the coming days, but can't lose fight spirit. Evening all. Smashed at Old Trafford, part trio. I mean, this is a trilogy, this. I'm going to join shortly by Jay Motti from the Stretford Paddock. He's going to give me the lowdown on the Reds. Evening, Jack. Are you heading up to Manchester tomorrow? I'm afraid. Mrs. paid for the ticket, so I will be going. I will be in Manchester for potentially night time, you know, shopping and whatever, but I will be one of them going, I'm afraid. Don't hate me for it. This is quite like Leicester's a new player signing. Well, I don't think I'm that slow, but I was just waiting for Jay to come in and then discussing everything with Jay, and then we're going to start. So, yeah, let's get started. Jay Motti from the Stretford Paddock. Jay, how are you?
How are you, Jack? You okay?
I'm okay. You?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know we're gonna get into it in a minute, but I'm a little bit worried about tomorrow night. I really am. You mentioned it earlier. You said about two teams not in great form. And Manchester United, especially Old Trafford, over the last month or so, last few weeks, we've been pretty woeful. And I think if you're ever going to play Manchester United, I think now is the time to play us because we're not performing at all. The only saving grace has been some of our away games, really. But yeah, it's been and some of the sort of the cup competition, especially the Europa, and that the one FA Cup game we'd played again away from Old Trafford was quite good. But I know this isn't the Premier League game, but in the Premier League at Old Trafford, we have been poor, very poor.
Yeah, one of them wins at Old Trafford this season have come against Leicester, haven't they, in the Premier League? One of your easiest games of the season, which I think could be a fair assessment, you know. I mean, yeah, we've not really done much since. I don't think Man United have done much either, have they, since? Obviously, Steve Cooper's been sacked since we've last played you lot. Ruud van Nistelrooy has now come in, obviously beat Leicester in his 4 games, which he managed at Old Trafford, won two of the games, one in the Carabao Cup, one in the Premier League. But how are you feeling with the trilogy? See, this is going to be the trilogy, and I'm hoping this is the end of it now. And, yeah, we don't come back again, maybe. But, yeah, let me know your thoughts on the trilogy.
I mean, it was weird because when we played you in the Carabao and in the league, it was probably for us the sort of the perfect time to play a Leicester side that are obviously struggling, and we got a bit of a new manager bounce from Ruud van Nistelrooy because Ruud van Nistelrooy is an absolute club legend at Manchester United. He's probably the greatest striker I've ever seen, and when he took over from Erik ten Hag, which obviously had ended really badly, everyone seems to be low on confidence. It wasn't a happy camp at all. Ruud takes over, gets that lift, everyone's buzzing. We get, I think, the first result against Leicester where we scored a load of goals. Then we get the league result as well. and we had the game. I think we had a game in the Europa, forgive me, and a draw with Chelsea. So it was a good spell that we had under Rooney. I think it was 3 wins and a draw, which is much better form than we've had before or since he was the caretaker manager this season. So it was like the perfect storm for us. You've got that new manager bounce. You're going up against a team that have absolutely looked just sort of lost, really, for being brutally honest about Leicester. The Leicester City team we faced didn't seem to have much confidence and sort of almost gave up in those games early doors. Where since then, we've seen teams come to Old Trafford. We've seen the likes of, obviously, Bournemouth have got a result, Brighton, Crystal Palace at the weekend. Even Southampton, who we beat, played us off the park for about an hour. And it's weird because if you look at some of our other games, you look at the FA Cup game against Arsenal where we were down to 10 men. You look at the game against City in the league. I know City was struggling at the time, but it's still Manchester City, it's still the reigning champions. You look at the point we got at Anfield where we were a bit unlucky not to get all 3. We have turned up away from home in certain games, especially big games. We got a dogged result at Fulham. I know Fulham aren't the greatest team, but we still beat them. But at Old Trafford, it's just been woeful. It really has. And I've said this on Stretford Paddock a few times. Even I think the Southampton game actually rattled me a bit more than the others, even though we won that one, because Southampton are so poor, and yet we made them look like prime Real Madrid for about an hour. So it's been really odd this season for Manchester United. It really has. And I know we've got a new manager and he's trying to implement his system and his new tactics and formation. But even so, you still can't forgive some of the results we've seen.
Yeah, I think with some of the teams that have actually gone to your gap have been a lot more fighting them teams. Leicester have made it easy for teams this season. Everton away, 4-0 bloody drumming there. Easiest game of their bloody season. Jordan Pickford just puts his hands behind his back like they've tied him up. Do you get what I'm saying? And he just nothing fazed him in that game. Then you got Man United, the 3-0 defeat this season in the league, and you're thinking, two of the sides who Everton have been struggling this season. Easy win for them. Man United again. We could have gone there and played much better, but then it just didn't turn up at all. And this is the thing with Leicester this season. In the games, do you expect us to get something, or you think Leicester are going to cause problems at these games? What opposition fans feel, we just don't. And it's like, it's not a pressure thing. It's just a mentality type of thing. It's just we've either got it or we haven't. And we did it against Wolves this season in the Premier League, where we thought, you know what, they're on a bad run of form. Maybe we can get 3 points there. And then we did that and we ended up losing. So this is a thing with, I know Man United are on poor form again, but then they'll look at this game and think, yeah, well, we were kind of on bad form last time before we played Leicester, and Leicester made it easy for us. But obviously, Ruud's a different approach type of manager, ain't he? Jay, you'd obviously know him well as a player, as a man, obviously managing at Man U. But how do you think Ruud realistically would set up? Do you think he'd set up the way he had you lot playing against Leicester, or do you think he'd set up quite differently? Because he's going to know your squad quite well going into this, having worked with them for a bit. And he got the best out of them in the 4 games that he did.
He did, you're right. And I think one of the reasons he got good results was he got the best out of Ahmad. Ahmad played really well under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And this was a player that I was sort of crying out to get more minutes earlier on in the season, because he'd been in and out of the team under Erik ten Hag this season. Last season, he barely got a look in. Although when he did get a look in, obviously the goal against Liverpool was a seminal one. So I wanted to see more of Ahmad, and we saw that under Ruud. Ruud obviously saw what a good player he was able to get him firing, get the team sort of bouncing off him and get some good results. And I think he'll be wary of that. He'll be wary of Ahmad. And the difficulty we've got at United at the minute, it's not that Ahmad's a good player and he's scoring goals. It's the fact that he's the only one who seems to be, or one of the only ones who seems to be capable of doing anything. Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund, they've been almost non-existent at times, and I think it spoke volumes the fact that he played Kobbie Mainoo up front the other day against Crystal Palace. I mean, a 19-year-old midfielder who's never played up front professionally for Manchester United, starting in a game up front tells you a lot when you've got 2 strikers who cost 120 million between them, 110 million, sat on the bench. That says a lot. So I think Ruud will be telling his defenders to focus on Ahmad. You keep him quiet, that's a big sort of issue for Manchester United, because if he's not performing, if he's not creating, there's only one or two others who seem capable of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of man marks him or even doubles up on it. Wolves did. Wolves had like 2 players on Ahmad when we went to Molineux, and it worked. Other than that, obviously, I'm not saying Ahmad's the only good player we've got. That'd be ridiculous. But Bruno Fernandes is another one who can create things, make things happen.
Yeah.
I expect maybe Ruud to sort of try and snuff him out, try and stifle him. He's someone who can get frustrated, who can try things that don't always come off. And maybe he just does a little bit of a low block and says, look, United are going to come at us. They're at home. We shut up shop. We keep tight with the likes of Ahmad and Bruno, and we hit him on the break. I know Jamie Vardy's getting on a bit, but he's still capable of finding the back of the net. I think he's got 7 goals this season, which is, I think if he was at United, he'd be our joint top scorer. So which says a lot. So I think that might be the tactic that Ruud looks at. Look, they're going to come at us. The crowd expect them to, shut up shop, keep it tight, and then we can hit him. And we saw it. We saw it at the weekend. We were chasing the game. 1 bad pass. We 1-0 down. 1 bad pass. Crystal Palace counter-attack. The rest is history. And we've seen that a few times at Manchester United this season at Old Trafford, where teams have shut up. We've tried to get at them, and then they've just hit us on the break, and we've been a little bit all at sea defensively, and they've got a goal. So I think that might be a tactic. My big question, and you're the man to answer it, is whether Ruud van Nistelrooy goes for it in this game in terms of who he picks. Does he pick a strong team? Does he think, you know what, this is a potential morale boosting victory and a chance of silverware, or is he going to be focusing on the league and rotate? That's the question I've sort of pondered.
I think with the word you've used regarding the Ahmad situation is the word quiet. And Leicester have not managed to keep any player quiet. Leicester's defence this season is a shambles all over. I mean, I don't know if you watched them against Everton and the goals they conceded. It was diabolical. It's basic defending at its best. You've got Vestergaard and Fass. We'd call them the Chuckle Brothers because that's how they keep running around. Like, do you get what I mean? And it's just... Ruud he wanted to be backed in January, and the club have not backed him. They've brought in Woyo Koulibaly for £2 million, and we're thinking, hopefully we get a bit more. But we know what the transfer window we're going to bring. We ended up bringing nobody else in. We ended up selling Tom Cannon for £10 million, a striker that we could probably have added 12 ranks to maybe help out Jamie Vardy. And Ruud's not happy. I know he talks about it in his press conference day. Yeah, I knew about it. I knew we had to change different things because things wasn't working the way we'd hoped at the start. But then the thing is, he should have been told this from the start that he weren't going to get the funds to actually go out and get these players that were needed. Obviously, I mean, Ruud, let me get his post up. Let me just go back to the one I was just looking at. What did he say about Manchester United? He's had his press conference today, so he's had a bit to say on this game. And let me find it. Right, so this is what he's had to say about Manchester United. We've had time to recover enough. We have had time to plan. This is never a distraction. To represent Leicester in this cup is a privilege. We want to show what we're about. Fantastic away tie at Old Trafford. Obviously, he'll obviously look forward to this type of game, won't he? He's talked about Manchester United. He was asked about the transfer business, and obviously Wilfred Ndidi's back, which would be another key thing for him. Obviously Wilf's been out quite a bit, so it'd be good to get him back in the team. Obviously Jeremy Monga is another one that's 15 years old, and he's got massive potential to go on. Obviously, Real Madrid, PSG, and them types of teams are looking at him. So he's got big potential on his shoulders to go and play at Europe's best. We've got Jake Evans, I think it is, who's a striker. I think he's 16 years old. So he's going to be added into that team tomorrow. And I'm not sure. I think with Ruud, there's obviously a few players which are fatigued. So they'll obviously miss out. He's not mentioned who it is and how many they are. But I think he's going to shape this team up differently going into this game. Where do you think it's gone wrong for Amorim at Man United? Obviously, there was big hype about him for what he did at Sporting and what he can bring to Manchester United. I just don't think you've seen it yet. Maybe you've not got the players he wants to have in his squad, but he can't do that anything until the summer. But how is Amorim sort of done? I mean, are you happy with him so far? Do you think it's him, or do you think it's the players not taking accountability? I think I could get that at Leicester, to be fair, with players not taking accountability for poor performances.
Yeah, I do like Amorim. I think he comes across very well in his press conferences. We have had some good results. I know we've had some bad ones, but we don't win very often at the Etihad, unfortunately. We've done that on Ruben Amorim's watch. Our record at Anfield is absolutely abysmal. I think we've not scored there for about 6 years or something stupid. And I know a draw at Anfield is not like, we're not exactly going to have a parade about it, but it's a positive result. And it was good to get a couple of goals, and maybe we should have nicked it at the end. And obviously the win at the Emirates as well, which is another ground we've not got a great record in over the last few years. But to get that win and progress to the next stage of this FA Cup tie, obviously, was good. But I think, in answer to your question properly, he's struggling because he plays a certain system. And he's had success at Sporting with that system, 3-4-2-1. He has 2 10s, he has his wing backs, he has 3 centre-backs. Now at Manchester United, you could probably get away with the 3 centre-backs. We've got Lenny Yoro, we've got Matthias de Ligt, we've got Harry Maguire. Until very recently, we had Lisandro Martinez. We've obviously brought in the kid from Arsenal, Aiden Heaven, who should be able to slot in as well. Plus, if you needed to, you could maybe get, which we have done, we've put Nuzar Mazraoui as part of the back 3. Luke Shaw's constantly injured, but if he does manage to get himself fit, he could even play there. So that's not an issue. Wing backs has been an issue. Diogo Dalot as a left wing back hasn't worked. So we brought in Patrick Dorgu. I think that can have a positive effect. Ahmad can play as a right wing back, but you miss him further up the pitch. You want him in one of those 10 roles. So that's been a little bit of an issue. And I think that some of the players have just struggled with this system. And plus, the biggest problem we've got at Manchester United is lack of goals. He's inherited a team that wasn't scoring. He's inherited a player in Marcus Rashford who just doesn't seem up for it, doesn't seem to want to play for Ruben Amorim or try the way he should try. And obviously, he's been moved on to Aston Villa till the end of the season.
Yeah. Then
you've got the fact that Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee have just completely fell off a cliff. They look lost, especially Højlund. At least with Zirkzee, and I don't think he's particularly better than Højlund. He's not. But at least he looks like he's got a little bit of confidence. Rasmus Højlund absolutely has lost his confidence. And it's a shame because he probably needs someone like Ruud van Nistelrooy who knows what it's like to be a striker at Manchester United, to work with him and say, look, this is what you need to do. I'm not saying Ruben Amorim can't do that, but there's probably fewer people on the planet better equipped to do that than Ruud van Nistelrooy. So that's been an issue that Ruben Amorim has inherited. He's made 2 signings since he's been here, which is one, Aiden Heaven, is one for the future, although he may get some minutes this season. And Patrick Dorgu, who's going to, I expect, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts against you guys. But he needs more than that. He needs a striker. He needs to bring in someone who can play as a 9 and get some goals. And I think if he's able to sort of bring in the players that he needs in the summer transfer window, even if it's just 2 signings, a striker, maybe another wing back, then that could go a long way to getting Manchester United back to closer to where we need to be. So I do sympathise with the manager because he's inherited a mess. Yes, some of the results, even with the mess he's inherited, should have been better. Let's not kid ourselves. But I do sympathise with him and I do think he's the right man for the job. It's just important that Ineos give him the time and the money that he needs to get Manchester United going.
I think I could sympathise with Ruud. He needs that type of money to get Leicester going. I think, obviously with Ruud, he's had a lot of sit-downs with the players since he's been here. He's had a lot of talks with the players. A lot of home truths have had to be said to the players to really get them going. And this is what you don't see from Van Nistelrooy. He's very calm and collected in press conferences, but then you don't know how he is away from if the teams are losing. Do you know what I mean? He can be very strict, very straightforward in telling the players how he feels. And obviously there have been different reports come out about Bill Inotte wasn't happy with him when he came on against Fulham, I think it was. He obviously told him what he thought of his performance. So I think Ruud seems to be very one of them who likes to get his point across. He'll tell you how it is. If he's not happy with something, you're not performing to the levels of what he wants you to, he'll tell you, innit? And he's one of them. It's the league that counts. Yeah, every single player needs to step up to the plate tomorrow night. And this is what Rude's been wanting to. But the thing is, Jay, you know, when you coming into a squad who some would call it championship level squad, I think you can agree. I just don't think there's enough quality in there to compete. I think January was a massive must. We had to really bring players in who he could actually work with and create his own sort of philosophy with. But yeah, with Rude, do you think it's been a difficult job, of course, of him at Leicester, obviously not been backed? He's had to work with the players that obviously Steve Cooper, his previous assessor, had to work with. And how do you think he's sort of handled it? He's surprised by how things have gone so far with him, or do you kind of sympathise with him a bit?
I'm a little bit surprised he didn't have more of a new manager bounce. Because you didn't seem to have that, did you? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think
Brighton and West Ham. I think we got 4 points out of the first two with him.
Yeah, which I mean, it's fine. I mean, if you got 4 points every 2 games, you'd be laughing. But you need a bit more than that. And then obviously, was it 8 or 7 defeats on the spin?
Seven straight defeats on the bounce.
Which is obviously just there's no, it's terrible. It's relegation form. So I did sympathise with him because obviously I love Ruud van Nistelrooy and I want him to succeed. I don't want him to succeed this weekend, obviously, but I like him to keep Leicester up. I want to see him do well. He's a man that he's very much loved at Manchester United for obvious reasons. So when he took over there, I did think, okay, this is a bit of a risky move because you're inheriting a team that's struggling. You might not have the backing. I didn't know what the financials were like at Leicester, but I suspected he didn't have loads of money to spend in January, which is how it's transpired. And it's one of those where, even though it was only a brief spell at Manchester United as caretaker, his star was pretty high. He'd had success in Holland. He'd come into Manchester United. He hadn't really been tainted with the failures that Erik ten Hag had this season, because most people saw that unraveling last season. And he'd done well steadying the ship. And I think a lot of people would have looked at Ruud van Nistelrooy and gone, he was a fantastic player. I know that doesn't always matter, but it helps. He's done well at PSV, and he's done well in a small sort of, with a small sample size at Manchester United.
Yeah.
There's probably a few clubs he could go to, and he said, okay, I'm going to go to Leicester. Now, Leicester are a big club. I don't blame, I'm not questioning the size of your club or anything like that, but the situation they're in is a difficult one. And you always think, is he going to be out of mid-season as well? I know it was early on in the season, but it's still mid-season. Yeah. It's a hard one to turn around if the players don't respond, and you can't go into the transfer market, and you haven't got the caliber of players. Even though Manchester United have been struggling, he's been working with, no disrespect, let's be honest. He's been working with a better, higher standard of player at Manchester United than he's going to go to work with at Leicester. It was a risk. It was, and I fear for him. I fear it might have been a risk that backfires, because the form they're in. I know you had, was it Spurs you had a win against recently?
Yeah, we won that, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, it has been a real horrible spell. And I just hope that he gets it, he turns things around in the league. I hope you do stay up, and I hope he turns around, because it'd be a shame if he got relegated, and then also, not only obviously for you guys getting relegated, but from a Ruud van Nistelrooy or Manchester United fan point of view, to see him sort of be looked at as a bit of a failure in the Premier League, and probably not get the offers or the job role, if indeed he did move on from Leicester, or you want to get rid of him elsewhere. People might look at him and go, well, it didn't really work out at Leicester. Let's not give him a chance. So it was a risky one, but we'll wait and see. I mean, it's by no means is it over yet. We're only in February. He's obviously up against it.
Yeah, it's like he's been backed into a corner, hasn't he, with the resources that he's got to use from now and in. He's, like he said, he's had to go now, talking his press conference there, he's got to deal with the squad that he's got. He can't go anywhere else. He can't loan players. He can't buy anyone. So he's have to now deal with what he's got. If he could bring the young players through, I know he did it PSV, where he brought a few young players through, and then obviously they went on to do good things. I think Leicester's a real club in, some would call it free fall. you know, from the board to the squad and that, and it's just depleted in it. And I think Rude's come into a really difficult situation, you know, and some would have said David Moyes would have been better for this situation, a relegation battle, and that. Obviously Rude's never sort of faced it, has he? But he's just thought to himself, yeah, maybe I fancy the challenge, you know, maybe I can get Leicester out of this sort of predicament, but it's going to take a hell lot of him to do so. And I think this is how he's going to look at it going forward. But let's have a look at last time round. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the Carabao Cup game first. Last visit in the Cup would have been the Carabao Cup game. 5-2 to you lot. I think we played okay in the game against Man United. I think El Canu scored in Connor Cody. I just think it was a game where defensive errors cost us again. And obviously we had Danny Ward in goal as well. So, yeah, it was a game of a real second string Leicester side, I'd call it. No real strength in that Leicester team. To be fair, I think we just put any players in, to be fair. I don't think we were too focused on the Cup at the time. But Man United put a stronger side out, didn't he, against Leicester? But, yeah, 5-2. Hammered us. I think Casemiro scored that bloody wonder strike from distance. So how do you take from last time you played us in the Cup to now?
Well, obviously last time it was sort of ideal for United in the sense that, like I said to you earlier, you know, we had that sort of lift because it's not just the fact that Erik ten Hag had left. A lot of fans, I think the fans could see it was time for him to move on, but no one was really hating on him.
Yeah.
You know, I think we'd sort of had enough, but it wasn't like a figure of hate. It just, even though we'd failed last season, we won the FA Cup, beating Manchester City in the final. So there's some positives there. And obviously the first season he did quite well. But Rude is so loved. It was like Ruud van Nistelrooy's here. It's a little bit like when Ollie came in after Jose. You get a player in who's a club legend, plus the fact that a few players that perhaps weren't getting enough game time that maybe deserve a bit more opportunity come back into the side, and the place is sort of lifted. And then we play against a team that, even when at full strength, have struggled. And then you field a weakened team. We get some goals, and it's like, it was an enjoyable game now. And I don't say that very often about matches at Old Trafford this season. So yeah, it kind of worked out really well for us. But I think this one's different because we're going into this game where we're a bit nervous. We've been struggling. And Ruud van Nistelrooy knows this team. He knows United. I mean, just knowing the team doesn't always mean you can win.
Yeah.
You know, knowledge is only takes so far. If you haven't got the players to do it, it doesn't matter how much you know. It's not going to work. But if anyone can get Leicester to give Manchester United a game, you'd think it'd be the man that's managed Manchester United this season. You think it'd be the one that's worked with these players. You think it'd be the one that knows the strength and weaknesses of this squad, because it's basically the exact same squad that he was managing. Okay, you brought in Patrick Dorgu and Aiden Heaven, but other than that, it's almost identical. So we'll see. I feel like this is going to be a much closer game than the Carabao Cup game. And I think if you pick a stronger team, and for the sound of Ruud van Nistelrooy, it sounds like he's got that little bit of almost annoyance to him of what's going on. So I don't think he's going to be throwing in a towel on this one. I don't think he's going to want to send his team out weakened that get turned over or potentially get turned over. So if he goes for it, if he picks a strong team, and if he uses what his knowledge that he's got, then it could make it difficult. And one thing I will tell you just quickly as well is, like, when Old Trafford is bouncing, it's one of the best stadiums in the world. And I've been at stadiums everywhere, and it can be. But when we're not performing and when we're not playing well, the crowd can turn. And if the crowd turn early doors and start getting on players' backs, players that are struggling with confidence as well, then that could give Leicester a bit of a boost. So I think it's important United start off well tomorrow night.
And so surely we have to beat Man United if we play them enough, surely. I mean, this is third time lucky for Leicester. Obviously, we're all going to play you at home at some point in the near season now, which will be the fourth time. So it seems like a fatal four-way between these pair. But Ant talks about Ruud Ruud knows our team isn't good enough and can't win a game. Like you spoke about the knowledge, obviously any manager can have knowledge. I mean, Guardiola could come into Leicester with all the knowledge in the world, but I just don't think he'd do anything with this team. And I don't think many managers would. But this is the issue when you've not got enough quality. Obviously, Man United's got quality, aren't they? Fernandes and players like that who can really play well in a game. They've got the ball knowledge of Casemiro, who's won trophies, hasn't he? You know, at Real Madrid and that. He's played in some big games. Obviously, it is a big game tomorrow night again. Obviously, it depends what team we put out, but I just don't see how we're gonna sort of start this game. You know, if we start it off the way we played Everton at the weekend, we could be in for a long Friday night football. I mean, looking at the ticket prices, I mean, talk to me about them. Obviously, that's gone viral, hasn't it? Man United charging Leicester 51 to 60 odd quid, I think it is, for a... What's your initial thoughts on that? Obviously, Man U's been heavily criticised on that one. I think Jim Radcliffe's been criticised as well, hasn't he, from fans of Man U for charging them types of prices, not just for away fans, but for home fans as well. What do you kind of say about that, like the ticket prices for this sort of game being like only an FA Cup fourth round game and not a final at Wembley?
I think it's disgusting. I do. I was at a protest ahead of the Everton game regarding ticket prices. So there was Everton fans there as well. It was a joint protest between United and Everton fans because they're unhappy with the prices that they were getting charged. I think we're seeing it across a lot of clubs. But Jim Ratcliffe, listen, I get he's had to change things and he's got to cut some costs and make some money back with PSR and all the rest of it and the way that the Glazers have mismanaged it. But things like, you know, extortionate ticket prices is not the way to go for me. And if you look at the interview that Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave recently, I think it was with United v Stand, this is a popular United fanzine. He spoke to Andy Mitton, the editor there, and he said about ticket prices, and he said, if you're going to watch United, you shouldn't be paying more to watch Fulham than you should to watch United. And everyone was like, are you for real? Because the prices in Fulham, the cost of living or the wages in Fulham are a lot different than the wages in Manchester or Salford. Like, obviously, the prices are going to be more expensive in one of the most affluent areas of Britain compared to an area which is very much working class in Manchester. So I think he missed sort of what missed the sentiment there with what he was trying to get across, and he misjudged the mood because no one was buying that one, no one was having it, and it saddens me when I see fans like yourself saying, "Look, you know, we're getting charged 50, 60 quid for a cup game." I don't like it. I don't like it for United fans. I don't like it for opposition fans. I don't think it's right. And I think that whilst clubs have to make money and provide by PSR and all these other things, there's better ways of doing it than charging 1,000 Leicester fans or however many it is you're taking extortionate prices to come and watch their team at Old Trafford. I don't agree with it. I'm not just, you know, I'd say that even though I've got no time for City or Liverpool or Leeds or whatever, I'd say if it was their fans coming, I don't agree with pricing fans out of going to football matches. I don't agree with exploiting fans, and that's how it feels to me. It feels a little bit exploitative.
This is the thing, and I do think now football seems to be very much gone, doesn't it? As a game, you know, it's not the game we once loved. The prices, the everything like that. Football's a business game now, and it's gone well beyond that point, and it with everything. I mean, you look at what the Premier League's doing with the whole celebrations and this, that, and the other, booking players and doing whatever, and it's just ridiculous, isn't it? With how football's changed massively, it's become like a very much computerized game. You might as well call it EAFC if that's what you want to call it, the real life version of it, because that's what it is, you know, with VAR and that having to make the decisions over the referee because the referee can't make his own mind up. So football's changed massively, hasn't it, Jay, with a lot that have changed, which they probably could have left alone.
Yeah, it has. And listen, I'm an old school fan. I'm in my 40s. I remember, you know, life before the Premier League. That's how old I am. I was only a kid, but I remember it. And some of the things that I'm seeing, listen, I get you have to move with the times in certain respects. And there's one or two things that I quite like and I think make sense. I think when they brought Hawkeye in, for example, I got it. I understood that. It's like the ball's across the line. There's technology there that will show you I was at the game, funnily enough, England versus Germany, where Frank Lampard scored that goal that wasn't given in Bloemfontein. So I get that, and I think that's black and white. The ball's crossed the line. Technology controls. I think with other aspects of the game that's changed, I'm not a big fan of VAR. I think it spoils the celebrations just from a fan point of view. I'm not quite sure how PSR is going to work. Is it going to be a positive? It feels to me like clubs are just stockpiling youngsters and then just selling them. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily making it fairer. It feels like it's just making it harder for academy players to play for their club, their boyhood club, because they're more likely, if they do perform well in the academy, they're likely to get sold. So there's a lot going on in modern football that I'm a bit wary of, but the sort of the biggest bugbear for me is just the way fans, I mentioned earlier, are just having the pants pulled down. It always seems like fans, we're taken for granted, aren't we?
The fans get the brunt of it,
whether it's ticket prices.
Yeah,
exactly. You know better than anyone. Whether it's ticket prices, whether it's kickoff times, whether it's no consideration for when you've got to travel. You know, they'll do it. They'll do it. Leicester, they'll probably give you a game against Newcastle or Southampton or something at daft o'clock on an evening when you can't get home. Or they've done it to us with United. If you want to go and travel away, it's almost impossible for some fixtures, the timings of them and whatnot. So that is one of the biggest bugbears. It's like they almost want us to not go to games. They almost want us to just all watch it on Sky or whatever. Or if
it's the enjoyment out of it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want season ticket holders there, I think, a lot of the time. And listen, I get it. I get there's probably a lot of your views going, how can a United fan moan about anything? You know, the United might be struggling, but you still...
That's good to get a different opinion, though, from a...
Yeah, you've spent all that money on players. You've got, you've had so much success over the years. I know we've not had it as much recently. Your club still charges big prices. But I think whether you're a United fan or you're a Leicester fan or you support anyone, you can relate to a lot of these issues. I think we all can as football fans. And I think it's sad to see because I don't want to go to the game where it's a half-empty stadium or it's a stadium full of people that don't really, aren't as passionate because they're
not really interested in the team.
They're not interested because all the people that are, all the people that, the sort of working class fans have been priced out. I think it'd be sad.
We had like 3,400 odd tickets. I think we had it first. We've now gone down to 1,340, which Leicester are not sold out, by the way, for tomorrow night, even at that. Big up to Union FS and all them who have took a stand against it. There's obviously been protests and that with banners and that about it. That's why there is only 800 Leicester fans going. Ross, no trains home tomorrow night either, so you're having to book an hotel in Manchester, aren't you, to stay there until the morning. Ridiculous. So it's extra costs and all that. But this is what football's come to, isn't it? Like I said, walking bank machines and that, just ain't got a care in the world, The fans take the brunt of it, don't they? This is it, and we're the soft touch to these sorts of people. But let's have a look at last time out in the FA Cup. I mean, last time we played you in the FA Cup, we went on and won the FA Cup. 3-1, COVID season. Kelechi Iheanacho was on some real hot form going into the FA Cup that season. Who scored for you in that game? It's Greenwood,
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm struggling to remember this one. I really am. I'm having to Google it now as we speak. It was Mason Greenwood.
Yeah.
COVID season, like you said, and I just barely remember this. I'm not making excuses. Obviously, we lost. But yeah, Donny van de Beek starting. Crikey, that's a bit of a rarity. Not a great game for Manchester United, but no, fair play to you. Went on and won it.
Yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho scored a few in that game, and got a good player in the FA Cup. I think you've seen the best of him during COVID. Iheanacho, obviously, he was your...
That stung me, that actually, thinking back, because he's ex-City player, so that was like...
Yeah.
That was an extra little bit of salt in the wound, that one.
Yeah, I think you lot... Which team did you put out that day against Leicester? I'm trying to think which side you lot put out.
Well, it was a little bit looking at it, it feels slightly makeshift, not fully though. We had a lot. I'm not making excuses. We still had a strong team, but Van der Beek started, Tellez started, Dean Henderson was in goal. I'm not sure whether that was rotated. There was a spell when Ollie quite liked him, but I'm not sure whether that was around this time. Other than that, it was probably it was actually a pretty strong team because we got Pogba there, Martial, Greenwood, Matic. These at the time were first team players. McTominay and Shaw came on. Ahmad came on, which is mad to think he came on 4 years ago. Because back then he was barely getting a look in. So yeah, it was Bruno and Edison Cavani. We obviously brought on the big guns in Bruno and Cavani later on, but it didn't work.
No, we had like the Yuri Tillemans, them types of players, all Brightons and
this was the
obviously
game.
Vardy
Was this the game with the mistake by Fred? Was that the one?
It might have been.
I think there was. It's like Fred, more or less. Yeah, Fred set up Iniacho. Yeah, I remember. I'd forgotten about it. I've just got flashbacks. Fred basically laid it on for him. I think he tried to play it back to the keeper, and Iniacho got onto it. He underhit the pass, I think, and Iniacho got onto it, and that sort of set the tone.
Yeah, Leicester seemed to. Iniacho turned into our Jermaine Beckford of the FA Cup. I mean, Beckford obviously scored at your place, didn't he? And won Leeds the tie in the FA Cup once upon a time.
Don't remind me. Yeah.
Yeah, that was under the Fergie era, was it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was around 2012. I think it might have been 2011. It was a horrible, horrible day. Honestly, I've got nothing good to say. I hate Leeds, and we let them come to Old Trafford and beat us. And I can't even say it was like, oh well, it was a complete makeshift team. We had players that had played a lot of games for Manchester United playing that day, and we just didn't turn up. It was terrible.
Yep. Let's have a look at the last three. I mean, we've only met 3 times in the FA Cup. You lot have won twice in the games. We've won once, which is only that 3-1 win. Yeah, Man United have got the upper hand going into this one. Obviously, you lot will look to make it 4 to get the 3 out of 4 wins. Leicester, of course, will look to make it 2 and then to come to 2 with Man United in the 4, which will be the 4th meeting tomorrow in the FA Cup. But what's your starting 11? I mean, are there any changes you'd make for this game? I mean, how do you see this one?
I think Bandera will come in goal. I think he's tended to play in the cup games. I think it'll obviously be the 3-4-2-1. Maybe Dorgu gets to start, the new signing. I wouldn't be surprised if he just threw him straight in because we are struggling on that left wing back role. And I think up front, I think he'll bring a striker back in. He tried Kobe Mainoo up front. It didn't work against Palace. I like Mainoo, but he's not a striker. It's ridiculous. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Joshua Zirkzee starts. And then maybe we see Mainoo drop into one of the number 10 roles. I'd like to see him try there a little bit. And then I think he'll be a pretty strong team. I expect Ugarte to start. I expect Bruno Fernandes obviously to start. I think the back 3, no Martinez, but I think it might be Lenny Yoro, De Ligt and Maguire. Obviously, Maguire will want to play and he should play against his former club.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a very strong Manchester United team. And that's Ahmad as well in the other 10 role. I think Ahmad will start because he's our main threat. So I do expect us to go for it with a pretty strong team. I don't think he'll risk rotating too much for this one because we can't afford to. Even when we play a full strength team, we're not great. So we're not going to start messing about too much.
Yeah, I mean, after this game, we've got Arsenal in the league. So, yeah, we've got a tough run of fixtures coming up after Man United. So we've got a big run of fixtures where you're thinking, where do we get points from? But I think Herman's will start. I think defence, Jesus, do I put the Chuckle brothers in or not? I don't think I do. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go Cody and Nicole. I'm going to go for Koulibaly to start at right back with, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put Luke Thomas in there. I think Luke Thomas will start. Midfield, Samare and Ndidi. I think he'll rest Winks for this one. Front 3 behind the striker will be Mavididi, Buonanotte, El Kanous. I think that's where he'll go. And I think striker, I don't think Jamie Vardy starts. I think Vardy will be on the bench with... See, I think he'll go Patson Daka. I just think he'll go with Daka to give Daka a bit of game time. I think he'll put a strongish sort of side out, but maybe he focuses more on the league route, which is obviously a tough sort of situation at the minute. But like he said, he's prepared well for this game, and hopefully he can get one over on you lot tomorrow. But yeah, I'm kind of one of them. Like, I'm sometimes optimistic, but it's just like the quality Man United's got going into this against anyone we put in defence. It just feels like we're never going to keep them out or keep them quiet or whatever the scenario is. So maybe we might get another 5-2 game. Who knows? But I think I'll be glad if we score tomorrow night. But if we can win the game, terrific. I think it'd be worth that bloody 50, 60 quid, whatever the fans pay who's going tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully it's worth it for them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Jay, before I let you go, score prediction.
On my preview, I actually said I think you might win. I said I think you might do. I think you might do us on penalties. I did. I said it on the paddock preview we shot today. It's out in the morning, and that's not me trying to be funny or overly negative, but we've had some stinking results at Old Trafford recently. I think it'll be close. I honestly think this could go either way. I really do. I think if
you give me a bit more optimism now going into
honestly,
this.
I don't want. I'm not coming on here trying to pander to the crowd or anything like that. I'm being honest about what I have been watching at Old Trafford these last few weeks. It's been woeful. So yeah, I think you might sneak this one. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't want you to win, but I don't know. You might convince me otherwise by telling me how bad Leicester are. I haven't watched a lot of you, and I know you've had some bad results, but you've also, it wasn't that long ago you beat Spurs, so I think you might just sneak it. But my predictions are terrible, by the way, so don't hang it out on that one.
Ray's gone 3-0 Man United. He's backing you, boys. Chris says we need more.
Two sets of fans in it that are just like proper negative and are just like, you don't realise how bad we are. No, you don't realise how bad we are. And I think this is like, it's the opposite of a unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. It's like the opposite of that. It's just two poor teams, I think, going up against it. So we'll see.
It's two sides of a report, but we're poorer than you. I mean, we're shocking. We are at the minute.
There you go. That might help us get over the line then.
Well, it might do. It depends. We need more than luck. We need a bloody miracle, Chris, mate. I'm right behind you with that one. We need a fucking miracle tomorrow. If we all, I'd take a draw and then win on penalties, but I just can't see us. I just don't see where the wins are going to come from for us. 650-0 to Leicester based on Man United's form. How many goals is that a bloody minute? It's 65-50-0. That might be an history-breaking bloody game.
Someone's been at it early today.
A stopper full force meets a movable object. Sounds like mine.
No comment. I'm not commenting on anyone else's.
No comment. No comment. Leicester, a stoppable force? I don't think so. Our defence is just, if Man United come and attack us, we make mistakes on our own accord. I'll have 2 points of what Jay's drinking, please.
See, this is giving me a bit of hope, the fact that Leicester fans are so negative. I think I found fans that are actually more negative than United fans at the minute, which... Yeah, you might change your tune after 10 minutes of watching the game tomorrow. You might be like, actually, Jay was right. This team isn't great, but we'll see. Well,
I said that last time in the Carabao. I said that last time in the Carabao Cup. I thought, this is the best time to play Man United now. We are Leicester City. We always seem to be charity FC at this point, and when teams ain't won, and there you go, here's your win, here's your 3 points, and whatever it is. But no, I'm not going to predict tomorrow. I think I'd happily take a draw and a win on penalties, but I just don't think it's going to go to that, to be fair. I think if we concede early on, I think it's going to be a long night for us. We've got to be very much on our game. And if Ruud can cause an upset, fantastic. But, I just don't think there's any sort of glimmer of hope, optimism you can tell me going into this. I mean, I could say it's going to be really nice weather tomorrow night at Old Trafford. It's not going to be too cold. It's not going to rain, but I might be lying. So, yeah, Jay, thanks for coming on, mate. Do appreciate it, as always. I'll let everybody know where they can find you, Jay, and what you do regarding Man United, mate.
Yeah, I'm on the Stretford Paddock podcast. I'm sure that I put a community post. There's probably a few Paddock fans that have come over. But if you've not, you can check out, if you want to see the Man United point of view, if you're a Leicester fan, our preview will be out, I think, first thing in the morning. So you can check that out in the morning, Stretford Paddock. But yeah, big up, Jack. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Jay. All the best for the rest of the season, mate, until we meet you again at the King Power this time.
Yeah, got to do this again. We'll chat to you then. Take care, bro.
That was Jay from Stretford Paddock. Great chat, as always. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. We are back live at 9 o'clock, so come and join us for that, as we'll be chatting with the man himself, Rob Tanner, about what is going on at Leicester City then. What's happening with this free fall, this mess? What's happening? Rob's going to let us know everything. So whatever questions you've got from Mr. Rob Tanner, come and get them in at 9 o'clock. It's going to be a great chat, as always, with Rob. We're going to analyse everything, the window just gone and all that, the season ahead, and we're going to chat about Ruud van Nistelrooy and the board and everything like that. So whatever questions you've got for Rob Tanner, football related, of course, then come and get them in. I will be at Old Trafford tomorrow, I'm afraid. Don't hate me, don't attack me, Mrs. paid for the ticket, so we're going to go and have a weekend in Manchester shopping and that. So I'll be there. Hopefully it's worth the 60 odd quid. I don't know where the optimism is going to come from tomorrow night, but fantastic. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't subscribed already. Please get down and do so. Help me out massively. Big up to everyone who's joined, including Jay, Ray, and everyone like that. Got yourself subscribed. Appreciate that, Danny. Appreciate that, Professor, coming in, mate. Appreciate Chris and Ross, everyone else. But thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon. Up the final whistle. Hi all, thank you for watching the final whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share and subscribe to the channel.